Hello and welcome back to this course where we are going to continue with exploring the final bits of some of the things we need to know when it comes to Active Directory users and computers. In this video, what we want to explore is when it comes to how to delete accounts, how to disable and re-enable accounts, and probably also how to delete OUs, right? And what happens when you delete. From a system administrator point of view, you want to be familiar with how to handle accidental deletions and stuff like that, right? So without much further ado, we'll start with how to disable an account. So in the previous video, I mentioned that it was bugging me how this was blank and this was disabled. Now, how do you know an account is disabled or enabled? When you look at these two accounts, I'm in the sales and marketing OU. And when I go to Tracy Milan and I double click, I go to their properties, the account tab, and there's a section that says account is disabled is unticked. Now, since this is unticked, it means implicitly it is enabled. Once this is ticked and applied, it then now means it is disabled. Now, there's this icon here that looks like an arrow pointing down and it's black. That's a quick way to spot an account that's been disabled. Compared to John Virgo, who is not disabled. So when I go to this account, when I open this as well, properties, so you'd realize that John has this unticked, right? Just gonna make this smaller. And Tracy has this ticked. So that's a key differentiator. So that's how you disable an account. If you want to re-enable an account, you just untick it and then you apply. So that's how you disable and re-enable an account. Okay. So now we want to explore what happens when you delete an account. How do you delete an account? So we're going to go with, say, Tracy Milan. When you want to delete an account, you find their account, and then you right click and go to delete. Are you sure you want to delete this username, Tracy Milan? Yes. So Tracy is gone. Tracy has been deleted, and you'd be wondering, where did it go? Just like on a Windows operating system, when you delete a folder or a file, it's supposed to go to the recycle bin. When I go to this recycle bin, I don't see anything. Now, Active Directory snapping or the whole service has been built in such a way that you have such a functionality called Active Directory recycle bin. But how do you find the recycle bin? Where do you see it? To see it, you need to make sure that it's enabled. By default, when you install Active Directory or when you set up Active Directory, the recycle bin is normally not enabled. The recycle bin, which we call recycle bin, is in actual fact a container that holds that information with that Active Directory account until you manually delete it from that as well, or you wish to restore it. Now, since I mentioned that it is a container, so you'll be hoping when you go to view and you go to advanced features, it should now show the hidden containers that, we can't see. So for instance, we have lost and found. You'd be thinking lost and found should then contain that, but it's still not there. And probably you're looking for the right word terminology to say recycle bin. It's still not there. Now, that's because when we set up this Active Directory, we hadn't enabled the recycle bin for Active Directory. Once that's enabled, it would now exist as a container in your Active Directory tree. So how do you enable the recycle bin for Active Directory? To do that, you need to go to a different snapping, and it's called Active Directory Administrative Center. When you go to the Active Directory Administrative Center, you go to your forest, and then you have the option here to enable recycle bin. So when you enable this recycle bin, are you sure you want to perform this? Once the recycle bin has been enabled, it can't be disabled. It's a one-way street. So I would enable this. Please refresh the admin center now, and then you see the snapping. So click OK. So we don't have the container here yet. So you'd realize all these containers are the same as the containers you're seeing here. So anything that you want to do on how all of these come about. So this is the admin center for this. So I'm just going to refresh this. And let's see. That's refreshed. You now see that this is grayed out. And then you'd have deleted objects. So deleted objects container is what they call the recycle bin for Active Directory. So now that we have that, we can go into it and we can refresh. It's actually not showing anything that we deleted recently. That's because probably we just need to double check this now. Just gonna close this, close this, close this, reopen this, go to the deleted objects. So what happened there is we deleted an account before we enabled the recycle bin. I was hoping if I had deleted the account and then turn on the recycle bin, it would then pick it up, but then unfortunately not, because the recycle bin was not enabled. Because it's not enabled, whatever you deleted before it was enabled is gone. So now that it is enabled, I would go back to the Active Directory users and computers. And what we would do is, I'll come out of this now. Actually, one sec, let me just double check. Does it show here, advanced features? No, it doesn't. So you can only access it through the admin center. So I'm just going to uncheck this and we will go to users. No, we'll go to this OU. I'm just going to copy this again. Call it Tracy. And it was Milan. Tracy .milan. Next, set the password. Next, finish. And just modify this. Sales executive. Right. Apply. So now that we have enabled the deleted objects, which is a recycle bin, we can go on and delete Tracy again and go to yes. And once that's deleted, we would go to deleted objects and we'll refresh this, and that is Tracy. So lesson learned. I never imagined that. Anyway, so this is Tracy, and you have the option to, when you right click on it, you can restore back to where it was, or you can restore to a specific container or OU. So I'm just going to restore Tracy, and we'll go back to Active Directory, and I will just refresh this. Refresh. So Tracy's back with the same configs. Now, another thing we need to just double check is, what if we had another user? Just copy. Jared. Say Bowen. Jared.Bowen. Yeah, next password. Finish. So also in the sales and marketing, but let's say we created a whole new OU and we called it the developers OU, right? And we move Jared to developers OU, and Jared is software engineer, right? And his department is dev. Now that we have Jared in this, what happens when you delete an OU? So I'm just going to go to delete this OU, click yes. I have insufficient permissions. Okay. When I created this, let's see. Let me create another one. OU, and I would untick this so that we can test deleting it. Test delete OU. Okay. And I would move Jared from here to there. And then I would delete this OU. Yeah. So I have deleted that OU. Where is Jared? Where is Jared Bowen? We can find Jared Bowen in a container that we can only see by activating the advanced features. And it would be in, I thought it would be in lost and found. No? Okay. And it should be in security, for your security principles. No? It's not there. I'm just going to refresh this. Refresh. Okay, that's new. It normally would go to a specific container. Just give me 1 sec to find it. No, actually, so that prompt that came is asking if you want to delete both the object and the OU that was in it, and I click yes. So it should be in the recycle bin. So when you go to delete the objects, we're just going to refresh this. So that's refreshed now. Yeah, so it actually deleted both. And so I will just restore both. And that's what happens when you delete OUs. That's a recycle bin for you. And I would go back to developers and I'll refresh this. Yeah, so it's back. And we have Jared Bowen. So let's try that delete again. So if you delete this OU and you get the prompt again, object test delete OU contains other objects. Are you sure you want to delete OU and all of its objects? When I went yes, yeah, it took them all out. But what if you use delete subtree server control? Warning, if you use delete subtree server control checkbox, all objects within the subtree, including all delete projected objects, will be deleted, and the deletion cannot be cancelled. Anyway, I'm not going to try that, but you get the gist of it. When you delete anything after the recycle bin is enabled, you can always go back and restore it. Another thing is, if you had this OU and you had, instead of having Jared Bowen in it, you probably just had a group in it. So for instance, if you go to the groups that we created, so if I go to users, and so this is a created group called test software access. If I had this in this OU, So we had this. So we are going to go ahead and delete this again. Click yes. We'll click yes. So it's gone. And refresh. So when you delete that as well, you should be able to find them in this. Now you can see we have testware software access security group and together with these. Okay. So as a system administrator, you need to be careful on going about deleting objects. And so I'm just going to restore these. Restore. Okay, so we need to restore this first. And then we can restore this and restore this. Okay, so that's all to do with managing users when it comes to disabling, deleting, and recovering. I'll see you in the next video where it's about time we tested some of the accounts we created on a Windows 11 workstation, which we joined to the domain, and see how that behaves. And then we wrap up this whole section with Active Directory users and computers. And then we'll move on to Azure AD. So we'll be setting up Azure AD sync on the server and see how it behaves with syncing from on-prem to online. And then from there, we'll move on to group policy. So I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.